behind me is a Goodwill. We're going to go in and see if there's anything worth buying in there. I've heard that thrift stores are kind of overpriced and terrible lately, so let's have a look inside and see if we can find anything worthwhile. Okay, through the doors here. Very nice neon light display in the entrance. And as I always do, I stop at the glass countertop to see if there's anything worthwhile in what Goodwill thinks is the expensive and valuable parts of the store. Lots of USB cables here, but I get enough of those through Amazon Vine, so I don't need to buy any of those today. And I always check behind the counter too, but they usually don't have anything that's particularly amazing, so we'll just move right on from there. Of course, we always have to check in on the electronics section, but it's usually just stacks of DVD players and old calculators and old CD player mini systems and stuff like that. Of course, there's always old monitors too with the old 4:3 aspect ratio. I did come across this thing, which I thought was kind of weird, but I believe it's just like a white noise machine for sleeping. And then really what would have been very expensive back in the day, a Sony mini system with a 30-pin connector. But just down from there is this trunk, which I'd never seen at Goodwill before, but it's kind of just full of mold and gross stains and stuff inside. I think they were asking $15 for it, and if you ask me, this one should have just gone straight to the dump instead of trying to be salvaged. And of course, no trip to Goodwill is complete without seeing the full collection of grandma's silver that was carelessly donated by relatives. One of the things I like checking out most at the thrift store is the art section. Now, this particular section doesn't have a ton of interesting stuff in it, but I've sometimes found some original or numbered sketches. I actually do really like this piece, and I kind of regret not buying it, but it was a really big piece of art, and I think it was $25 or something like that. It's not something that I would have room for in my house, but I like the bright colors and things like that. But there's a lot of commodity art, like things you would find at a Pier 1 or like IKEA and stuff like that. You see all kinds of that kind of art at the thrift store, and usually this art wall is packed kind of frame to frame with so many pieces of art and so many different pictures and stuff. But I think this Goodwill had recently done a clean out or something, because we were missing there was a lot of empty space on the wall, and I especially liked this one, which was obviously just a super low res printout. And I came across this Star Wars thing, but definitely not worthwhile. It's a reproduction, not original in any way, but not for me today. And yeah, just around the corner, there's a bunch of Halloween stuff out now, because it was getting pretty close to Halloween time. So there's nothing more gross that I can imagine than having a secondhand mask. So hopefully these are new stock. On our way over to the media section now, past this wall of home decor, but I did have to stop and take a look at this VHS tape holder, which I'm sure we all had at either our parents' house or our grandparents' house growing up, and especially with the wood grain to match all the other wood grain things that were happening back in the 80s and 90s. And over to the record stand now. I found one or two decent things here over the years, but there wasn't much on offer the day that I was at this thrift store. Records are becoming very valuable now, and people are starting to become also aware of what they're worth, so they're not donating them as much as they are selling them. And every once in a while you can find something neat, but not all the time. Of course, the other thing that people are getting rid of a lot these days are the old DVD box sets and things like that, so you can always find Friends and Seinfeld everywhere. But people aren't holding on to them, I guess, because everyone is streaming now. Always, of course, over to the Xbox games, too. Got to check out and see if there's any WWE or old wrestling games here. And there's always, though, a huge stack of Xbox Connect games. They tried so hard with Xbox Connect, and they just could never really make it work. Nobody ever played Xbox Connect games. And always the NHL and Madden games and stuff like that, because they get outdated so quickly and people just get sick of playing them. And nowadays we're seeing more and more Blu-ray discs as well, so for the physical media collectors, the thrift store is definitely a place to stop at. And I found this, which I thought was really interesting. It's an old PC flight simulator game, but for Mac OS 9. I wasn't aware that they made a ton of games for Mac back then. It's just like now, if you're going to be a gamer, you're going to play on PC and not on Mac. And next up is the board game section. You always see a lot of the same board games. You'll see lots of CNITs, because I think those have very limited playthrough value. You can only play them a few times before you remember all the scenes. There's always the kids board games too. People buy them for the kids and the kids outgrow them, and old just games that were, mass produced and stuff. I found this selection of jigsaw puzzles pretty interesting though too, because it's a Costco based jigsaw puzzle, and like if you look at the picture there, they definitely capture the essence of what it's like to shop at a Costco. It's just like a huge mess and a huge sea of people, and very confusing, and very something that you just don't want to look at. And just down from there, a couple of Star Wars audiobooks on CD, which I thought were pretty cool. Not for me, but definitely for someone. And last up, before we leave this Goodwill, is the barware section. I have a ton of thrifted barware in my house, you can oftentimes find some really nice like crystal pieces, or even some pieces from old tourist attractions and things like that, just that spark memories or that spark some sort of nostalgia. Not much here today though, and as you can see, the shelves are a little bit empty, and like I was saying, I'm pretty sure that this thrift store, the day that I got there, must have done some sort of big purge, because usually these shelves are just absolutely stacked with servingware and barware and stuff like that. Okay, so nothing left. Let's head out. Not too much at this Goodwill here. I got two more that I like to stop at on my route. They're both value villages though, so I'm not sure if they're going to have anything good or if the prices are going to be any good at all. But as you can see, there wasn't much going on at that Goodwill today. I think they must have, as I said, done a purge or something like that, because their shelves are usually a lot more full than that. But all right, let's go on to the next one. I recorded a live intro for this stop at the Value Village, but what I didn't know at the time was that there was some super loud-ass piece of machinery that was causing a lot of interference and a lot of noise. So basically what I'm saying is I'm going to go into this Value Village and see if they have anything worthwhile. And same as last time, our first stop's going to be the glass case where they keep all the, quote, valuable, unquote things. I guess we're starting to see Stanley cups show up at the thrift store, so that's kind of neat. And, you know, the typical things, you got a little microscope there and a turntable and a quarter-size violin. And then, of course, there's always the old electronics. There's a GameCube down there, it looks like, and a couple of old cameras in their camera bags and some headphones and stuff like that. And I had to move this basket out of the way to make sure I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. That's an old WD external hard drive, and I have to wonder if the person who donated this really took the steps to delete it properly. Don't donate old hard drives, just destroy them. This Value Village had a ton of furniture in it, so they had like a little secondary area with furniture here, and these glass tables with the aluminum stands there kind of caught my eye. Definitely a very 80s aesthetic, very cool for the right decor, not my decor at my house, and there were a couple scratches on them, but otherwise I didn't hate them at all. The board game and puzzle shelf at this Value Village was a lot more stocked than the one at the Goodwill, but we're seeing a lot of the same stuff, you know, the same board games, the same scenics, the same puzzles that we see all the time over and over again that people just get bored of and get tired of playing. Can't blame them for donating, but at least they're not throwing them out. This Value Village is very interesting. It's got like 9 different media shelves scattered across different parts of the store. So this one's near the front, and I always stop at it first. Typical stuff, you see some CDs, there's some old PC games there. You've got your Xbox sports games and your Just Dance games and your Kinect games, same as we saw before. This PC game, though, caught my eye. 100,000 games. That's a lot of games. And you know there's got to be some just real pieces of garbage in that collection of 100,000 games. This particular Goodwill is in like a new construction area, so the art walls here are never very good. They never have a lot of stuff in them. It's usually just like show home type artwork, like stuff that you'd put in a show home or a new construction. And I've never found any art that I like here. I did like, there was a series of these 3 prints, but they were $17.99 each. And if they were that for the whole set, I probably would have gotten all 3. They did need a bit of a cleanup there on the frame, but not worth it for the $18 a piece they were charging. So I'm going to pass on those. Over at the main furniture section now, a couple of actually nice pieces of solid wood furniture just hiding behind this haunted Christmas doll, but not for me. I'm not a furniture restorer, but somebody else might enjoy them. They have a very slapdash electronics section at this Value Village, but I did check out this old IBM typewriter from back in the day. Very cool. And this super old Sharp calculator that even had the paper still attached to it. Not for me, but I'm sure somebody can use those as decoration. I did come across this thing, which I thought was really neat. It's like a thing that converts your old home videos and film to DVD, which would have been crazy to have back in the day. It's also somebody donated this really cheap looking violin. I have no need for that. I just thought it was interesting. And this alarm clock actually did catch my eye just because of the retro styling and the way it looks, the colors and the wood grain and everything. It just kind of really caught my eye. If a bit of a spruce up, it might have been a nice piece to have in the house, but for $9, like, no way. I'm sorry, that's just way too expensive. I'm always hoping to find somebody's old family photo albums here with a bunch of pictures in it that they've forgotten to take out, but so far I've only ever found empty ones. And just like at the Goodwill, we found another wood grain VHS tape container. This one, not really as nice. Is VHS making a comeback? Because I'm seeing a lot of VHS stuff today. Around the corner here into some of the kitchenware stuff, and this piece caught my eye. I would have 100% taken this home if it were in just a little bit better shape. The gold on the rim there is chipping a little bit. It looks like it's been used quite a bit. But in terms of a decorative piece for on top of my bar cabinet, this would have been a really nice addition. I like the green and gold aesthetic, but just not in good enough shape for me. You always see so many shot glasses at the thrift store too. Like, people pick these up on vacation and I guess plan to use them at home, but like, I imagine that people don't do nearly as many shots at home as they do when they're on vacation. I paused to take a look at these, what I think are dessert cups, like you put a cake or a jello in there, but there were 6 of them for 19 bucks, way too expensive out of my price range. And here at Value Village, they also have a really nice collection of grandma's silver, but one of the pieces really stood out to me. It was this serving tray. There's a glass container inside of it, but it does look like it's either solid silver or silver plated, and that would take an absolute lifetime to clean. Actually, my dad gave me some of his silverware recently, and I spent probably a good half an hour just polishing it up, so I can't imagine doing something of that size and actually having the patience to make it look nice. And unfortunately, this Value Village's record stand has absolutely nothing of note or interest, just a lot of stuff that I've never heard of, old K-Tel compilations and stuff like that, so moving on to the next section. Around the corner, one of the larger selections of 8-tracks that I've ever seen at a Goodwill store. And this one I thought was pretty neat. It's an ABBA 8-track. I totally would have walked away with that. I found a few 8-tracks over the years, but I've never actually found an 8-track player, so I'd be curious to pick one of those up just to give it a shot. I'm always curious to see a lot of these old self-help books on tape too that were kind of probably sold in infomercials back in the 80s. I might do a video on one of those if I find a complete set. A lot of religious DVDs and VHSs as well. And just around the corner in the book section, there's the novelization of the first season of Reacher, which itself is an adaptation of the Reacher novel. So we have a little bit of Reacher inception going on at Value Village. I like the show, but I'm not going to read the book. I always check the bags of action figures, and I lucked in today because I did find some wrestlers. Looks like we got the Undertaker there, and here we have Randy Orton, and it looks like Sheamus and maybe The Miz there. And yeah, I don't know those two guys, but I think beside them, Rey Mysterio was in the back there, and I think beside them is Roman Reigns. I'd always like to find some stuff to put in the background of my other videos, but these are not my era of wrestling figures. And on the way out of the store, I spotted this swarthy-looking car. So again, nothing of note here at this Value Village. Let's move on to the next one. As expected, a couple of interesting things, but nothing I'm gonna take home with me today. And as you saw, some of the prices are a little bit outrageous. That art for $17 each. That if all 3 of them were for $20, I would have considered it, but $17 each, that's a bit much. We're gonna move on to the last store now. It's another Value Village, but it's in a different kind of neighborhood. So this one's in a neighborhood that's got a lot of new construction happening. The other one that I'm going to go to is in a neighborhood that is a little bit more upscale. So oftentimes you can find some pretty good stuff there. So let's take a ride over there and see what we can find. My last stop of the day is this Value Village, which is in a bit of a fancier neighborhood. So maybe we'll find some cool stuff inside. First thing after walking in the door is this amazing organ. I have no room or no need for this, but it's in incredible shape. You do see these organs sometimes at the thrift store, but they're oftentimes just dirty and gross and chipped and broken. But this one looked to be in really amazing condition. That'll be a great find for someone. And everyone's grandma's formal living room had their collection of decorative plates. I see these are starting to make their way through the thrift stores as that generation dies off. And interestingly, an entire shelf full of bells, decorative bells. Just around the corner from the bells was Spider-Man T-Rex and an interesting piece of history from the '88 Seoul Summer Olympics. A nice piece, but I'm more of a Winter Olympics fan, so I left that one on the shelf for someone else to find. And over to the media rack, I found the ABBA Arrival album on vinyl, which is the one we saw at the last Goodwill on 8-track. So I was gonna, I think I'm gonna actually grab this one. More flipping through some of the records. Got a news highlights record, which is an interesting one. I kind of miss, I kind of should have gotten that one. A few more very 80s album covers here in the record section, but nothing too much of note. I did flip through all of these, but I'll spare you having to look through them. Again, there's mostly classical and old country, nothing of interest to me. At this Value Village, another huge collection of 8-tracks. I've never seen this many out in the thrift stores before, and this one, this collection had something really interesting. Frampton Comes Alive. I totally would have grabbed that again if I had an 8-track player. And then just up from that was another ABBA 8-track, so lots of ABBA happening today at the thrift store. More of the same in the video game section here. Lots of EA Sports, lots of Just Dance, lots of Xbox Connect stuff, and interestingly, some Rock Band stuff. You don't see as much Rock Band stuff out nowadays as you used to at the thrift stores back in the day. And in the VHS section, I came across these Star Trek Original Series VHS tapes. I almost thought about getting them, but I don't want to start having a whole bunch of VHS collection in my house. Like, I just don't need it. I'm never going to watch it. For the nostalgia hit, it was pretty cool, and somebody will love to find these, but they're definitely not for me today. You never know what you're going to come across in the electronics section, like this ancient 2400 baud modem complete with serial connector on the back. And this is an interesting piece because I'll turn it over here in a second. You'll see it has a Government of Canada asset tag on it. So this used to be federal property at some point. Not as much nice furniture here as there was at the other Value Village. That faded flower ottoman actually looks a lot more gross in person than it did on video, as well as that odd dog statue in the corner. And I came across this hi-hat cymbal, which was in really rough shape, totally busted up and dented, but it had a $189 price tag on it, which I wonder if there's a whole drum kit. Couldn't find it anywhere in the store. This was a really cool vintage looking 60s style table. It was a little bit beat up. If it was in better shape or I had somewhere to put it, I might have walked away with it. It was a really nice piece. And then just around the corner from that, this old deco style solid wood dresser. Let me know in the comments if your thrift store has a medical supply section. Always see a ton of soda streams at the thrift store as well. I guess people just give up on them. Cake. All right, cruising now past the decorative Pope plate onto the glass containers, and same idea as before. There's nothing particularly valuable in here. A few odds and ends, looks like some camera bags down there, but nothing that really caught my eye. There's always old technology in there that everyone thinks is valuable, but really isn't. So I paid for my ABBA album, and I was ready to leave the store. And as I was leaving, I filmed this whole live outro, but I think one of my fingers was covering the mic input on my Osmo 360, so it ended up sounding like I was talking underwater. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.